Folks, how's it going? Hope you're having a wonderful day. It is Tuesday. I was going to do some lore today, and then I figured, hang on a minute, I haven't done a QA, and my questions are backing up here, so I need to get those done today. And there will be a poll on later where you get to decide what lore you want on the channel next. It'll be up on Thursday, so you're going to get your chance to give me a few answers today in the community poll. Head on over there, have a little word with yourself, and see which ones you want to hear about on Thursday. Beyond that, these are questions that are from our patrons and are from our channel members. If you are a channel member, use my email to send me a question. If you are a patron, then just send me a message on Patreon. And everybody who does that, you help the channel so much. And you help me take time away from teaching to do this, my day job, you know. And the more that goes up, I'm a mercenary, the more, Patreon money goes up, the more time I will allot to doing more videos. I want to eventually get to a point where I'm doing 7 videos a week. That would be awesome, because I really enjoy doing this, and I love writing scripts. It's my therapy time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I sit down, I write scripts, I go over ideas for different videos, and I read loads of stories that I get from the WhatsApp groups and from Discord and from emails and things. So yeah, carry on supporting Composite Games if you can. They are lovely, lovely, lovely people, and they do a lot for the channel. So, let's get into it, shall we? We have a few questions to go over today. Thank you to the patrons who've sent these in. First question is, what is the best way to actually start 40k and Age of Sigmar? There is so much conflicting noise online about where to begin. Your lore videos got me interested. Where would you recommend for more lore and things? Alright, so, to be honest, well, thank you for getting into the hobby because of me talking rubbish online. That's awesome. Secondly, it is a very personal question on where to start in the hobby. It's not really something that you can actually give a one-size-fits-all answer to, and I think it's very unfair when people start doing that. You've also got to remember that people will generally give you advice that vibes with their own life view, and what I mean by that is, if somebody's into Space Wolves, if somebody's into Tau, if somebody's into whatever, they are going to give you advice that will get you into their army, or at least get you into their sphere of the hobby quicker than any others. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to be very, very, very careful about how you actually approach things like that. I would hone in on what you enjoy about the hobby. Sit back, relax, have a little think, and sort of go over what you think the hobby is best for. As soon as you figure that out, you are 9/10 of the way there to deciding how to start in the hobby. For me, it was like you. I was into the lore and I was into the stories. So I started the hobby by just picking up books. I picked up books to read. I picked up several novels at the time, William King novels back in the day, but several novels at the time that I used to go over on long trips when I'd go and see my dad and stuff when I was a kid. And then eventually, when I settled on an army, I started just honing in on the lore of that army. I would buy White Dwarfs and things like that were always dedicated to the army that I'd chosen, which was Eldar at the time in 3rd edition. And eventually, that's what got me into it. Now, you are in a very privileged position. That's what you need to understand. As a new hobbyist these days, you are in a very, very privileged position because you have YouTube. You have so many different people online that you can actually talk to and listen to about your hobby that we never got. I still remember reading a White Dwarf back in the day that had a summarised version of the Horus Heresy from start to finish in it, especially the Siege of Terror. I switched on a Foo Fighters CD, I know, weird, back in the day when I was a kid, and I listened to that and I read the entire thing in White Dwarf. It's like 11, 12 pages of stuff, of text in White Dwarf, and I read it cover to cover. That doesn't sound like very much for like a 13-year-old kid. That's a lot to read in one sitting, and that's when I knew, okay, I love this. This is my thing. You guys are very lucky because you have several different YouTubers that you can connect to on a different level. Thankfully, you've done it with me, and that's wonderful. Thank you very much. But it depends what you're looking for in your lore. Again, we are so lucky that we have different types of lore channels for different types of discussions. So, if you're into the meme culture of 40k, and you're into the broness of 40k, and talking about things in a very haphazard, slapdash way, Major Kill is the guy for you. He's a very casual, friendly Warhammer YouTuber. Wes Hammer 2 is on the flip side of Major Kill. Wes Hammer is a YouTuber who does, shall we say, a more serious take on what Major Kill does. So he still does quite memey content, but he's not so much in a South Park way, you know. I've also noticed something about Wes Hammer. Don't kill me, right? I just think this is funny. This is a complete coincidence, I'm sure it is. But whenever I do a lore video, there's always a lore video on Wes Hammer a few days later on the same subject. I'm sure he doesn't watch these videos. I'm sure he doesn't. And I'm sure it's a complete coincidence. But I still find it funny. Anyway, those two are really good mirrors to each other. Amber King is my personal favourite lore YouTuber. He has said hello a few times, so that's very nice of him. He is more of a narrative style lore YouTuber. And his narrative style, he gets different voice actors to do different characters and things like that when he reads through the lore. If you want an audiobook that's free, that actually just covers the lore, and doesn't cover, like, he cuts out 90% of the fat and leaves you with what the actual really cool stuff about a character is. And he will dramatize that all the way through it as he goes through, with lovely art and music. And if you need something to listen to whilst you're painting and building, that's the guy for you, right? He covers all the bases for me. Voldemort is also very, very, very good. Doesn't always cover the same things that I would like, and sometimes he goes a bit too much into the narrative style of things, which is fine, but if that's what you're into. He is a more dry version of Amber King. So Amber King is very much Hollywood, and the more dry version of Amber King is Voldemort. Brilliant YouTuber, love him, really, really cool. If you want to go into the more tactics side of things and how a Legion works in the Horus Heresy, Oculus Imperia is really, really, really good. Head on to him, have a little look over there. If you're into, like, I would say he would be the Outer Circle's choice, if you know who that is, as a lore YouTuber. He would probably really like Oculus Imperia. I'm just guessing, but, like, looking at the style of videos that he makes, Oculus Imperia would be really, really, really good as a... If you're into the tactics of 40k, you're into the minutiae of how things work, and why things work, and how a Legion goes to war, Oculus Imperia is the guy for you. That is it for my recommendations, so there you go. Could you ever see yourself giving Space Wolves a go on the tabletop? No, not in their current guise. In their current guise, they are Saturday morning cartoon shouty boys that I have no interest in being around. They are so obnoxious they give me a headache. Not interested in them at all. If Games Workshop were to make them more stoic and more Space Marine-like, then yeah, I'd go for them. I'd have a little go and see what was up with it. And if I wanted to do my own lore, then yeah, I would go for it and I'd do that. But not in the current guise, no. Because collecting Space Wolves, you are collecting Space Wolves. Now, I've seen a few Space Bears armies. They seem pretty cool, using Space Wolf models to do different things with them. But I still think the Space Wolf models, by and large, look very cartoony and silly. And so, no, not really. But, you know, it's what it is. Everyone's got opinions, man. Everyone's got opinions. Okay, considering how... This is another question, by the way. Considering how the Iron Warriors, Night Lords, and Alpha Legion are Chaos adjacent, I thought they should have their own special codex. Something along the lines of Codex Renegade, or some such rebellious title. Since they aren't Imperial, nor are they adhering to any one god. Plus, it would be a good way to expand their lore, especially the Alpha Legion, because they deserve to be interesting and not just a meme about how confusing they are. Do you think this idea has merit, or am I grasping at straws? No, it definitely has merit. It definitely has merit. I would actually separate the... How would I put it? I would actually separate the actual traitor legions. Okay, so the World Eaters, the Death Guard, the Thousand Sons, and the Emperor's Children. I would separate those dedicated legions away from everybody else and give them their own codexes, because they're the big boys. Everybody else, I would, yes. I would have like a... Do you only have like a Codex Space Marines? Yeah. I would have a Codex Renegades. That would be a good way of putting it. A Codex Renegades, where you would have Alpha Legion, Night Lords, Iron Warriors, and all the rest of them, who are more of akin to being, shall we say, just Renegade chapters, rather than being actual Chaos Legions, right? I would actually have rules in that Codex that let you make your own Renegade chapter, or Renegade part of a Chaos Legion. That'd be awesome. That'd be absolutely awesome. So yeah, I think that's a really, really good idea. That's something that I would love. Alpha Legion being memes of how confusing they are is frustrating as shit, I know. Because meme culture in 40k is frustrating, that's what it is. But I would think, yeah, I actually think our Codex Renegades would be really, really good. And I'd actually be interested to hear about what people think in the comments. So let me know what you think about in the comments section down below about that one. Alright. Hey North, a question. What are your thoughts on the Cursed Founding? Chapters like the Black Dragons and Firehawks and others, and what would you change in the Exileverse? Okay. 1 second, let me just blow my nose. I'm still recovering from a cold. This cold is brutal. I actually think it was COVID, you know. I actually think I had COVID down low key, and I've now got long COVID. It just won't leave me alone. Anyway, so Black Dragons and Firehawks and people like that. What would I change? Relatively little. If anything, I would give them more airtime. That's the only thing I would do in the Exileverse, is give them more airtime. I think the Space Marines are a lot more interesting than people give them credit for, because a lot of people are so used to Ultramarines that they just don't give credence to the Space Marines being anything other than Boy Scouts. I love, there's a story about the Black Dragons that I love. When the Black Dragons turn up to aid an Imperial ship that's being boarded by Dark Eldar, and everyone's terrified of them. And one of the Black Dragons says, I think they were expecting the Ultramarines. It's just ridiculously funny. Like, because obviously the Black Dragons, they can sprout bony growths from their they're kind of like the Space Marine version of Wolverine, if Wolverine had like bone growths, right? That's literally what they do. And I just love the fact that everyone's, it's just brilliant. There are so many different levels of Space Marines. That's the only thing I would change, man. The only thing I would change is give them more airtime. Because, you know, sardonic and witty and funny and, shall we say, neglected Space Marines are very, very, very funny. And I'd lean into that a lot more if I was Games Workshop. That's what I would do. So, next. I will get in touch with you in a minute. Let's see. What have we got here? Alrighty. Alright, so. Are you my daddy? No, I'm not your daddy. I mean, it could be, for the right price, but, you know. Would you ever date a fan? I'm asking for a friend. I mean, I've got no rules against it, but you'd have to be pretty cool. You have to be pretty badass for me to actually date you, because it's a jungle out there, man, and you never know who you're talking to, you know? You've got to be very, very, very careful online. That's one thing that I really need to stress, that I get this a lot from other YouTubers, and like, you know, how do you go about things like that, because they get messages as well. I would say vet who you're talking to, man. Vet who you're talking to in the sternest way possible. The absolute sternest way possible. Go and vet who you're talking to. Honestly. It is one of those things that you really do need to get on top of. But yeah, I mean, I've got no rules against it. But yeah, you need to prove that you're, a really cool person, and two, you're real and not trying to, like, hoodwink me and put all of our messages online. Because being in the public eye, even in a small way, is very, 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 very stressful. Very stressful. Aside from Space Wolves, what is your most hated army in the Games Workshop plethora? Ooh, that is a big one. That's what she said. I would say... Well, Space Wolves is up there, so please don't think that these armies are anywhere close to Space Wolves, because they're not. But I don't really hold any hate for any other faction. I'm going to be honest. They're the only ones I don't like. Every other faction, I can sort of give a credence to. I have factions that I don't find interesting. I have loads of them, but none that I actually hate. Like Salamanders, I don't find them very interesting. It just is what it is. I just don't find them very interesting at all. And, you know, Dark Eldar, don't really find them very interesting. Eldar, yeah, okay, a little bit, but not really. You know. But there are no other real factions that I really, really, really don't like. No, there are no factions. Maybe Skaven. Maybe Skaven simply because of the sheer amount of people who insist that they get everything right all of the time. And I mean, Skaven get a lot of wins in Warhammer Fantasy. They get a lot of wins. They're completely neglected in Age of Sigmar, and I think there's a good reason for that. But they get a lot of wins in the old world in Warhammer Fantasy, because they're the ones who mainly break the world apart. They're the ones who are mainly responsible for the world being destroyed, essentially. You know, they are the apocalyptic threat that drives everything towards absolute destruction. Beyond Archaon. Archaon's there, of course, but it's really the Skaven, let's be honest. And the fact that they got so many wins with the fall of the old world just rubbed me up the wrong way a little bit. And then you get so many YouTubers who love them to pieces and go over moon for them and keep doing these annoying impressions of them. I mean, fair enough, you know, every once in a while, okay, no problem. There are certain YouTubers, you know who you are, who literally talk that way for like 90% of the video where they cover Skaven. You know, I don't mean Law Crimes when I say that. Law Crimes were one of the only YouTube groups or channels that actually did a really good job of making me like the Skaven a little bit. But in terms of the actual faction itself, I tend to think because Games Workshop made something semi-original in the Skaven, and that's what they are, semi-original, that they get a lot of love from them because they're their thing. You know, these aren't elves, these aren't dwarves, these aren't things that have just been made from any other fantasy setting. Skaven are, by and large, a Warhammer thing. Rat Men are a Warhammer thing. When you look at Rat Men in any other setting, you tend to think of Warhammer. And I think that's why they get quite a lot of their, shall we say, their love. Essentially, they get a lot of their love from Games Workshop because they are mainly a Games Workshop creation. So I can't really blame Games Workshop on that side of things, but, you know, it is what it is. Okay, where do you go for relationship advice? Can you point me in the same direction? I can't, mate. No, I honestly can't. The reason why I can't is because most of my relationship advice comes from experience. And that, I know that's easy for me to say, like sitting here and like having experience in my background and going, I'm now quite confident and I can approach these situations in a decent way. But at the same time, you just need to go through some shit. You need to go through some shit. Every man needs to. Every man needs to. Every man needs to go through some absolute bollocks to get his mind view set right. The challenge is when that bollocks happens, don't let it taint your opinion of women. That's the main thing. It's incredibly hard to do because when you're messed around, and you know the amount of guys I know when they've been messed around in a relationship and people still treat the woman in that scenario as the victim, it's infuriating, and I know it is. I know it is. But at the same time, the only person you're hurting by disliking all women and putting them all in the same boat is you. The only person... Because, listen, I've never slept with a person who didn't like me. Right? So if you don't like all women, you're never going to get laid. It just is what it is, right? You need to like people. You need to like people and want to be around people. Recognize the bullshit where it is, and as soon as you see toxic behaviour, try and correct it. And if you can't correct it after one warning, walk away. Walk away. You know? Even if you're married, I would say if there's a really toxic behaviour in your relationship, and you try and work on it, and that person won't change, walk away. Because it's only going to get worse. It is only going to get worse. Does your relationship need to be perfect all of the time? Of course it doesn't. Everybody has arguments, everybody has tiffs, everybody has moments. I mean actual toxic behaviours, right? You know, I saw this video the other day of there's a gender reveal party. I mean, if you do one of those, you deserve everything you fucking get. Let's be honest with you. There was a gender reveal party where they had this balloon that they were gonna pop, and the guy faked letting it go by accident, and it went away. Right? You know, he faked it like oh no, it's gone. Oh my god. You know. And everyone's going, oh no, you know. And his wife's like, see, I told you he's a fucking moron. And went and had to go with him like, in front of everybody. And he just points over to the patio where somebody brings out the real balloon. And he was like, it was a fucking joke. Right? If you've got a wife like that, leave. Leave. Treat yourself as the king you are. Fucking leave. Right? If you said that to other people about your wife, you would be in such hot water with everybody at that party. If anybody treats you like that, just leave. Right? So the relationship advice, man, it mainly comes from life and experiencing it at your own leisure. What I would say is, because I know you're quite a bit younger, that's why I'm giving you this advice. I'm not like telling you to go out and do this and do that. The best thing to do is to make your own mistakes, to go through life, make your own mistakes, get your heart broken, but also measure that with wisdom and make sure that you're not hating everybody for the sake of hating everybody, that you don't let it poison you. Because if you let somebody poison you, they're winning. They're winning the entire battle with you and your relationships from here on in. Get them out of your system, fuck them off, and try never to think about them ever again. Realise what a king you are. Get on with your life, man. Get on with your life. Go to the gym. Knock out some shit. I can't wait for March when it starts getting warmer. I'm going to start running again. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. And I know my own mental health doubles and trebles in strength when I'm exercising, when I'm getting vitamin D, when I'm running, when I'm getting those endorphins around my body. That's when I start feeling and looking better. And I'm not looking terrible by any stretch of the imagination, because like I've looked a lot worse in my time, trust me. But like running and doing exercise really does help me, and I think it helps everybody, man. I really do. I don't care how big you are, it helps. And the only the one thing that really winds me up about giving advice is the people who say that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? Like, mate, it's an empirical fact. An empirical fact that exercise gives you a net positive. Even if it's a 0.1, it gives you a net positive. Right? For most people, it gives a lot more than that, but it will always give you a net positive. You will not exercise and get more depressed. It just won't happen. I'm telling you now, it won't happen. Like, it is a... The one thing you're prescribed, I know, because I've done it, when I've been on meds and things for medication, which for depression, which I'm not on anymore, because they just fucked me up even more. But most of the time, it was said, yeah, take this medication, but exercise as well. You need to give your body, your hormones, every single chance to find another chemical balance. Right? A good night's sleep will do that. Exercise will do that. If you can't get one, do the other. Try and do both, but if you can't get one, do the other. I'm going down a rabbit hole of mental health right now, but like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Always focus on you, man. Always make sure that you're looking after you. And let's be honest, exercise helps. It's the people who sit there and say, it won't work for me, so I'm not even going to try. Dude, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Like, there's a gene pool. Right? Get in it. Get in it. Wake up and realise where you are. You're alive. You're alive, so get out there and do something about it. I'm not saying every day you need to be pounding the gym. I'm saying get off your fat arse and go for a walk. Go for a walk whilst listening to a 40k book. Go for a walk whilst, doing some chores or doing whatever. Do whatever you need to do, but make sure you get out there and you see the sun. If you're sitting in front of a computer screen for most of your day and you wonder why you're depressed, the definition of insanity, that's all I'm going to say. It's doing the same shit every day and expecting different results. Anyway. Love you all long time. Those are my Q&A questions for the day. I will speak to you tomorrow. We'll be doing some more hobby nightmares. And on Thursday, we'll be seeing the results of your law questionnaire. And we will be doing a little bit more of that law goodness. So I'll see you then. Love you all long time. Speak to you later. Have a good one. Bye.